Happy lunch hour, guys. All right, I want to talk about something that's kind of hitting the news and we need to pay attention to pretty quickly here. We all know the world is topsy-turvy. Let's keep it polite there. Uh, but what is the biggest fear that we have? Is it going to be an EMP? Is it going to be World War III? Is it going to be financial? Most likely, it's going to be a combination of those. But my guess is, again, my personal opinion, the trigger event is going to be financial. Okay. And why do I say that? Well, you're watching economies all around the country implode. Now, the reason I say this, what is the requirement to keep a country going? The people got to eat, okay? The people got to be able to get around whatever would be. Well, we have a couple of interesting pieces of information that have come out today. European corn yields way down. Why? Well, what they're saying in Europe now, at least the European Commission Joint Research Center is saying that the ongoing drought that they have going on in Europe right now is the worst in 500 years. Okay? That's Europe. Let's take a look at China. China. What are they having a problem with? Oh, I don't know. Could it be food? China's come out and said that 75% of the nation's grain and 90% of their economic crops this year are going to fail. When you start looking at the worldwide drought, you are going to have worldwide starvation. Now, we know the drought we have going on in the United States, at least in the western half. But I want you to look at a couple of things, all right? Let's take a look at some of these pictures here. All right, first one I want to show you is the map here of the United States and a drought. If you take a look at this, almost all of California, not that a whole lot grows in Nevada, but there, almost all of Texas, almost all of Nebraska in a drought. Then you look at the majority of the rest of the western half of the United States, and they are still looking at serious problems, okay? Sure, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, not so bad, okay? But winter's coming, and they get winter pretty hard, all right? So we're going to miss that. So then let's take a look at Europe, right? And what's going on in Europe. Take a look at this picture. This is the drought in Europe. It covers practically all of Western Europe. Problems. And then you get that, where isn't it? Well, that would be Russia. What's going on between Russia and Western Europe right now? They're not exactly on friendly terms. Okay. So now you get Western Europe, NATO country, starving. There isn't a graph for China. Not that surprises me. China's not too good about saying, hey, gee, look at our failures. But same thing going on. So let's look at this picture, all right? And this is one that we need. This is what we prep for. This is the potential, what NOAA is seeing, okay, for drought next decade. Almost the entire United States is in a drought. The majority of Europe is in a drought. Almost all of China is in a drought. Almost all of Australia is in a drought. Where aren't we having droughts? Canada, Russia, yeah, okay. You look, what part of Canada isn't there? Ain't a whole lot of civilization up there. You're starting to get into the permanent winter parts of Canada in a lot of this. This is what we're looking at. This is why my personal belief is economic crisis is what will tip everything else off. Now, there's a book I'm reading right now, just started reading it here, and I would highly suggest you guys do it. It's this one right here, all right? It's called Patriot, Surviving the Coming Collapse. It's a piece of fiction, all right? But it is a story, again, fiction, about preppers and coping with what's going to happen in an economic collapse. Now, we've all talked about reading 1 second after, and that's what happens with an EMP. This one, okay, this is when the economies of the world go to crap. This is when we have hyperinflation like Venezuela, like Zimbabwe, like the Weimar Republic, whatever it would be. All right, so this one you can read on Amazon for free. I found the book on, I think it was thriftbooks.com. I'm getting the hard copy of it. I think it was $8, okay? So if you want to read something, get a little enlightenment, there's a book to read. But this is what's going on, guys. This is what you're prepping for. This is not an if anymore. This is a when. When countries start starving, they are going to do anything they can to get food. Now, look what China's been doing for the last better part of a decade. Buying up real estate, United States, Northern Africa, whatever it would be, where they think they can grow food. Now, what's going to happen in the short term? All these countries, Europe, maybe even Australia, I don't know, China, are going to go, U.S., send us food, send us grain, send us whatever. I mean, we know 75% of the stored grain in the world right now is in China, okay? They've been working on this for a while to keep their people eating. Keep their military eating, maybe? Okay. We're going to have problems with our politics where they're going to go, hey, we can make money on this. Let's sell the food. So they're going to sell all this grain. We know it. I mean, what do? We sell weapons. We're, as much as I am a firm believer in capitalism, common sense has to come. Common sense capitalism is what we don't have. You don't get rid of everything you have to somebody else and then leave yourself none, i.e. me and the seeds. Why am I sending you guys seeds? They're the extras I have. I'm not sending everything I have so I have none. Unfortunately, in the United States, we're sending everything we have so we have none. And it's going, because everybody's got this great idea. Well, we'll just grow more. Right. Until you go back at that map and you look and go, the entire country's in a drought. Economic collapse. Let's go back to the Dust Bowl. Okay. Go west, young man. Let's look at the Okies. Okay. The middle of the country wound up done. Couldn't grow anything there for a decade because of a drought. Said many times, water is life. Watch anybody's videos, okay? Any of the channels I recommend that I've talked about, there's a ton of them that I guarantee I haven't watched, and they all talk about the same thing with food. It ain't rained. Okay, this is the problem we're running into, guys. Food is going to be, no doubt, 100% the kicker that will cause economic calamity in the world. Because if there's no water, there's no food. And if there's no food, that's when countries go to war. Okay? As much as you want to talk about countries, we're trying to nation build or we want to gain more territory or anything. No, the next war will be over food and water. This is where we are, guys. This is what is literally going on in the world. And nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to say, gee, you know what? We're cutting down all these trees. There's a problem with that. Gee, we're not growing food. I mean, come on, how many farmers in the U.S. have been told to stop growing food, right? It's more profitable to plant trees than it is to plant corn because the government will subsidize it. Right, we have a problem. But what happens to the world, if you will, when there's no corn? This is tip of the nose stuff here, guys. Hey, we've got to go to ethanol. We've got to go to biofuels, all this sort of. Well, if there's no corn, there's no ethanol. There's a story on Louder with Crowder about some Australian bank saying starting in 2025, they're not going to accept anybody's applications to buy a gas-powered car. They need to make a better decision that the people they'll finance an electric car, but they won't finance a gas-powered car. That'll probably last long enough until somebody goes, we're not making any money. But that's what we're looking at. This is the problem. All these globalists who want to save the planet, their policies are what are destroying the planet, and they're too blind to see it. I mean, we need, as a world population, to be more concerned about where's the water, so we have the where's the food. And it ain't just fruits and vegetables, because animals need water too. Guess what? Hey, Bill Gates, crickets need water too. Okay? If we don't do something about that, there'd be something they could focus on. And I'm not talking about spraying the sky with chemtrails, okay? But again, this goes back into what I said about desalination or anything like that. This is the economic calamity we are facing, guys, that will lead to war, that will lead to death and destruction. This is why it is so important to put away food, to have some sort of water storage, whatever it would be. We talk about how much, and a year, at least a year, 2 years, okay, whatever it would be. You think about the Depression. The Depression started in 1929. The Depression didn't end pretty much until the end of World War II in 1945. That's 16 years. Imagine a war. Imagine a worldwide economic meltdown, which we're going through right now. China just came out and said they're going to give some $40 billion in stimulus loans to their real estate industry. China's economy is crashing too, guys, in case anybody hasn't noticed it. It's not just us, all right? Inflation in China, inflation in Europe, inflation in the United States. The economies around the world are all collapsing at the same time. It's why it is so freaking important to get anything and everything possible that you think you can need to survive. And it ain't going to be easy. It's not going to be, oh, cool, I'll sit back on the porch, drink a cup of coffee, and read the newspaper. No, your survival is going to be just that, survival. There may be a little bit of living in it, but primarily it's going to be survival. And a lot of people are going to give up, guys, and say, this ain't worth it. I don't think that's any of us. We prep for a reason. We want to come out the other side. But what if it is coming out 16 years later, after a war, coming out the other side? I mean, if it started today and 16 years from now, I'll be 72. Maybe I make it, maybe I don't. But please, your kids, your grandkids, provided they survive, are the ones who are going to be around to come out the other side. It's up to us to leave them a world. And you've got a handful of people, politicians, the World Economic Forum, the New World Order, all those idiots who probably have their bunkers. Their kids will be fine, okay? They don't give a rat's ass about your kids or my kids, your grandkids. This is what's coming. Wake up, smell the coffee, get your ass in gear, and get this stuff done as fast as you possibly can, because it's coming quick now from the news that's coming out, and y'all needed to know that. Pinball out.